Watch this video and literally make $1 a day. That's the opening. So practical marketing made profitable online. So let me tell you about what you're going to learn in the next, I don't know, let's call it 60 minutes because I've got a bunch of stuff to go through. 15 steps to radically pragmatic profitability online. And I know that's a mouthful, but there's a bunch of things I wanted to cover here. Maybe more than one part to this video, but let's get into it. So right off the bat, earn online, zero investment. I know plenty of people say these things. They give you the impression that this is what you're going to find in their course or whatever the case may be. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of times that is not what actually happens. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to go. I'm just going to start a new meeting because I know how much people like video. I personally don't particularly care for it, but either way, turn this camera on. Let's see if I can get it on here. There we go. So the main thing is that you're going to get to be able to make probably $30 in a month, provided this program continues. So go to stake.us, sign up, and then just go claim your daily bonus. Now, there's more to it than that, but all that can be found if you go to bit.ly/Music Tech Discord. That's our community. All the long drawn out explanation is there, but the bottom line is you can start this right now. You can literally do it as you're watching the video. Go to stake.us, sign up. They're literally giving you $1 a day. You just sign up for your daily bonus, you set an alarm, and you go and you claim your $1 in stake cash every single day. Now, it may take you anywhere from, I don't know, it's about $15 now, depending on how you cash out. So somewhere between 15 and 20 days, you should be able to cash out. At one point, they were giving a $25 bonus if you check your email. Not everybody gets this, but I've gotten it. A number of people I know have gotten it. And then they give you monthly bonuses as well. It's not a king's ransom, but the bottom line is that this is a 100% way we found to just get $1 a day by literally just pushing a button once you sign up. Now, it's going to ask you for your identity. It's going to ask you, to confirm who you are. You've got to be 21 and over because essentially the platform is a social casino. Now, you don't have to gamble. You don't have to invest anything. Literally, you go in, you claim your bonus, and you just stack it up for the amount of time it takes you to cash out. Now, there's some nuance to the way you're going to be able to cash out. You're going to need to set up a wallet, and there is some steps, but trust me, or don't. It's totally worth it as compared to all the other things that I'm going to list a bunch of them that I've found that just don't give you as much value for what it is you're putting in. You go through the steps and you sign up. Once you hit that $15 mark, you literally go in, you redeem. We've been finding that ApeCoin redemption has given us the best or the lowest threshold to cash out. Right now, it's about $15 or so. So in about 15 days, you'll be able to cash that out. And literally, if you go onto Coinbase, you create an account, you transfer you redeem it to your Coinbase wallet. And easiest way is if you just have a Coinbase card, you order the card online, and you can just use it as a debit card. Now, sure, are there opportunities to gamble? Yes. Is it the goal for them to get you to gamble? Sure. Have they been showing multiple people who've won money with gambling and people online live streaming gambling? Absolutely. But what I'm suggesting, you do not have to do any of that. It's not a requirement. It's a 100% free, social casino. And even if you're betting, you could bet zero just to, for the enjoyment of it, if that's what you like. But honestly, this is a great way you hear all these things online about earn money online, no money down, and they give you a 7-day free trial or some other thing that doesn't really, it's not as transparent. Now, could you do it in the ways that perhaps, but this is the one thing that I've found that you literally can go in, click the button, claim the cash, and then pull it out. It is crypto. So the beautiful thing is you also get the opportunity to learn a little bit about crypto. And sure, it does take a few steps, but the journey, I believe, is more than worth it. We're moving into a time where digital currency is a major factor. And learning and knowing about it is going to be something that I think is going to give everyone a great deal of value in the long run. It is going to make it, it's going to make, it's going to lower the inhibitions to understanding what cryptocurrency is. And whether or not you end up going to invest or do other things with it is a whole different story. That's completely up to you. That is your choice to do or not do, depending on how it is you feel about it. But the journey will enable you to lower that threshold and start to get a little bit more into this realm if you're not there already. The bonus to all of this is when you sign up for Coinbase, they have something called Learning Rewards, which I think is fantastic. They will literally give you money to learn about crypto. There's some simple little paragraph trainings, questions and answers. Certainly nothing like a survey, but they actually pay you out in crypto. The crypto can be converted, and again, you can use it for cash. I've known people who have used it for social media ads, for gas, for groceries, for whatever it is you may need. The fact is, it's an opportunity for you to actually get some education on what crypto is, different types of it, to be paid for that pretty much immediately, and there's no investment required. So let's say you want to invest in crypto. You don't know much about it. You want to, start getting more involved. This is a great way, both Stake.us and Coinbase, for you to go ahead and start your journey and use house money, so to speak. Think about it as like if you took a trip to Atlantic City and they gave you $20 to gamble and you just didn't use the $20 and you used it for something else, or you used it to gamble, but either way, it's not your money to be using. Now, do they want you to spend more of your money? Is that kind of the goal? Sure, it's like paying for leads. The bottom line for you is it's a fantastic way for you to genuinely get $1 a day, and then also get the learning rewards from Coinbase. Now, I do have a some sort of an affiliate link for it, but that's not really a requirement. If you'd like to use it, or if you want to go directly, but if you want to use my affiliate link, I still honestly don't even know if it works. If you go to bit.ly/Stake and Drake, it'll take you right into Stake.us. You can sign up. You can get your $1 a day. And please, I would so appreciate it if you try this and you get the $1 a day. Let me know. Well, let me know if you don't, or let me know if you're having issues or trouble. You can ask all the questions you want if you go to bit.ly/Music Tech Discord. That's where the community is. There's 2,500 AI tools and resources there for anybody who's interested in those particular things. Again, 100% completely for free. Just a great opportunity that I wanted to start this particular video off with so that people can get value immediately. So when you go there, you'll be able to see all the little clips of videos and ask the questions. If you're having trouble, if you've gotten to $20 or $15 and you need to cash out, we can walk you through the steps, and hopefully this becomes something of value. So in the last minute of this first 10-minute segment, I'm going to talk to you about the other things that I'm going to be discussing. So now right off the bat, you can make your, let's say $30 a month, provided it continues, but $1 a day. So let's talk about the next step is going to be nothing waste ever, unless you waste it. Then we're going to talk about relationship management. And that's more for the relationship you manage online. I'm going to also talk about setting boundaries and why that's so important. I'm going to talk about your right to remain silent, and why that's so important. The obstacles and roadblocks that you may face if you're, when you're working online. The fact that you decide whatever it is you need to do. This is really for people who are just dipping their toe into the pool, now embracing the fact that we're moving more to this online culture and haven't taken advantage of it and maybe want to, but are feeling concerned because of stuff that they're seeing, they're reading, they don't know who to trust or whatever the case may be. I wanted to put this together to kind of go through some of the steps. I'm going to talk about the rite of passage, which is a fraternity hazing um, mentality that I've seen engaged in, where people believe that because they went through a hard time to get somewhere, that you must go through that same hard time to get there. And I don't particularly agree with this philosophy. I've seen people use it. I don't believe that it's helpful. And for me personally, I want to make sure that as whatever information I do put out there, it doesn't line up with that philosophy. If someone has gone through issues, I think the person after them shouldn't have to go through as many issues. They should have as smooth a sailing as possible so that they can move to the next level, so they can advance and build on what's there. I think that's the value of experience. I'm going to talk about planting seeds in fertile soil, knowing when to weed and when to fertilize. I'm going to talk about where to start. How do you get started on your journey? I'm going to talk very specifically about a topic that I'm super passionate about, which is connecting and engagement, and what that means to do it online in a way that is going to produce results for the people you're trying to connect with, and why things like wow, great, amazing aren't great comments, but you can engage with people on these three particular subjects or topics that I'll get into that will open up the possibilities of having a dialogue. Basically, um, engage, connect, win, as I like to say. Then I'm going to talk about the value of the who to follow. This is the shortcut, the WTF shortcut. The the importance of that is uh, when you see things online and you don't know what's real, what's not, what's the truth, what's kind of a lie, what's kind of true, and you're trying to sift and sort through all that. One of the things that I found to be very helpful, and I've just seen work repeatedly over and over and over again, is when you have a connection with someone and then they introduce you to somebody who's an expert or somebody who they've had great success with working with, that shortens the distance between you and getting the knowledge you need to move yourself to the next phase. And not there's no one size fits all. It just does that. So what I'm going to provide is, and I encourage you to share as well if you care to, is a list of people whom I follow who I've found that have added great value over time. And that could be people that I've met in person, people who have provided great value in online communities and talks that I've given. Um, just a whole plethora of people who are just experts in the field, who may be building products, who I've bought courses from, who I've attended webinars or had online calls with. But I think it's going to shortcut some of the roadblocks and pitfalls and things of that nature and help you to be able to formulate your own conclusions, because you may not feel the same way about them that I do, but at least you have a starting point. At least you're not starting from scratch, is what I mean. Then again, I talked about this before, the engage, connect, win, and how to really do that in a very specific manner. And finally, I'm going to get into TikTok Unlocked, which, there's a very specific philosophy I have on, social media in general. The bottom line is, social media is for attention. You get the attention and how you get the attention, but it's also what is tangible. When people say things like growth, it's very subjective, it's very relative, and there's no one size fits all. Everybody has a theory, uh, but in fact, the only expertise they have is what works for them, the same way I have what works for me. It may or may not work for you. And that sometimes is cold comfort. But the things that are not ambiguous, that are not going to fall into the category, is those unlocks that come when you hit certain thresholds, when you meet certain um, follower count requirements, um, or the watch time requirements. So very specifically, on TikTok, when you hit 1,000 followers, then you can go live and go online, and that is a milestone. When you hit 10,000 followers, then you're allowed to get the little series play button. So when somebody plays the first part of your series, it just continues to play, and it gives you more of an opportunity to engage with them. And when you hit 100,000 followers, then it opens up other avenues in terms of how it is you can be part of some of these other programs that they have. But the bottom line is that those milestones transcend all of the other stuff on, oh, grow your account, and I'll teach that. Like, 1,000 followers, you go live. And we're going to talk about how to get there. The same thing with the YouTube monetization, which I know a lot of people are interested in. I know because for a long time I was, interested in getting that done. And before understanding all the things that it takes to get to that particular point, it eluded me. And I just want to be able to share the pieces that have worked for me and provide opportunities to anybody who's interested in pursuing that path. So those are the 15 things that are going to be covered in this presentation, if you would. Just my what I've come to see as the thing I wish I had when I was moving into it. And it's probably more just a documentation for myself of all the things that are there, so I have a clear record of it. But I felt that it would be something that's good to share, that other people could possibly take advantage of and get some benefit from. Whether or not it's going to work the way I believe it is left to be seen, and I will leave it up to you to decide whether or not to leave any comment, positive, negative. It all works for me, for, against, or indifferent. I think the feedback is one of the most important things we can get from any sort of conversation that we may be having online, or any sort of input that we may be putting out there for people to consume, or not. And that will help us to get better, make assessments, to get analytics, to figure out what our next steps may be. So I hope that makes sense. I hope you got some value out of the first part of this, and I'm going to move right into the next one. Okay, and we're back with 15 steps to radically pragmatic profitability online. Let's get right into this. And first, here's your value first strategy: $1 a day. Zero down strategy. I spoke to you about that in the initial part of this, and it's real. Freedom is belief. Freedom is belief. Whatever you believe is true. You can have heard me talk about this stake.us method, this free social casino, and you could think, oh, this is just some scam. You're just trying to get some kind of affiliate or whatever the case may be, and that's fine. If you believe it's not going to work, then it won't, because you're not going to actually do the work. But if you believe enough to go try it, which is what I always say. My philosophy is, you're never going to find what works if you're not willing to risk testing something that isn't going to work. I've found more opportunities from kissing frogs, so to speak, than I've found from just sitting around and being skeptical about everything. Now, I don't like the philosophy of don't be a skeptic. No, be a skeptic. Question everything, but don't let it debilitate you to the point where you're not actually pursuing things that can put you in a better position. And what I'm suggesting here, I think, gives you a great opportunity to do it with the most minimal of risk. Sure, it's going to be new, uncharted territory, but if you trust enough to jump onto the Discord, bit.ly/music tech Discord. There's a Q&A section in there. you'll be able to contact me and send messages, and we can have the conversation about how to manage this. Or you could just send me a message online, and we can kind of go through it, because I genuinely want people to be able to take advantage of it, like I have, like somebody showed me to take advantage of it and use it to open up opportunities for them. Uh, I've done this. I've seen this done with people who are in their 20s, people in their 60s, people in their 70s. It's absolutely doable. And more than just, the dollar a day, or maybe for some of you who haven't made any money online. You're posturing and you're talking about the whole lifestyle and laptop lifestyle, but you haven't made anything. You've made zero, or maybe you've lost money. Me, I've done all of the above. I've spent countless money on courses that didn't produce the things that I thought they would. And to be fair, some of them I didn't go through as thoroughly as I probably could have. But the flip side, some of them just plain and simply did not work. They did not provide what I felt they would provide. And I'll give you an example. And I even, kind of confirmed this with when ChatGPT first came out. I asked about, what are people most upset about in terms of online marketing? And one of the things they talked about was one of the things I experienced, which is someone says that a product does something, and they sell you this bill of goods. It has everything you need. And the first thing that happens once you purchase or buy in or join the community is they come at you with a new offer that says, oh, this is a much better way to do what I just sold you, which never made any sense to me. And apparently that's a sentiment that's shared across the internet, because that's what ChatGPT and AI pulls down. And it's one of the things I talked about in my series of 10 predictions that I believe would come true with the dawn of AI. And that is, you're not going to be able to hide AI is connecting the stuff much better than before. So anything that's put out there that's really not true, it's going to connect the dots without you having to do anything. You're not going to have as much of a need to even go and do the SEO, or for people to find it. The AI will just pull it in and it'll make the assessment for you, which is good and bad. So for the folks who are putting great stuff out, I think it's going to connect it. And for the folks who are, charlatans, it's going to do that as well. But that $1 a day, stake.us, go on there, um, just claim your stake cash, and build it up. You can start today, and in 20 days you should be able to cash out using you can cash out using ApeCoin, transfer it to your Coinbase wallet, go sign up for Coinbase, get your Coinbase card, do the learning rewards, get the money for that, learn a little bit about crypto, and really start to, one, see that it's possible that you can actually make um, the money online from nothing, like just not spend anything and just go make money and learn something at the same time, which I think is fabulous. Excuse me. I think that these are the types of things that will just open people's eyes to what is possible. And just that alone, I think, is worth more than the money. Because once you realize, wow, I actually was able to do this, especially if you never have. Now, for folks who've already made a bunch of money, you may be like, so what? I don't care about $1 a day or whatever the case may be. Well, it's $1 a day you didn't have. Let's say you never invested in crypto or never invested in any stock. You could take this $1 a day and invest it that way. I have someone who's was planning to use the money to actually donate to her favorite pet charity. It's money, basically free money. You just have to put a little effort in, and it's just nothing more than pulling, pushing a button. The bottom line is doing is the win. Just by going out and doing it, it makes a huge difference. And as you go along, you're gonna find that that act of doing is going to enable you to view things in perhaps a different light. And I'm not saying there's no guarantee, because there's no one size fits all. You may view this completely differently. But from what I've found, it lowers that inhibition. It genuinely gives people the opportunity to say, oh, well, look, I was able to do this and connect the dots this way. I didn't understand this about crypto, but now I do. I didn't have money to invest, or I didn't have a little extra money to buy gas or buy groceries. I've done all of the above with this money just to prove a point. And as I said, it's not a king's ransom, but it is an opportunity to move that needle. Now, if you're a small business, you don't have money for marketing, you don't have money for ads, you could take this money and use it for that. And every little bit of attention helps to grow a brand. You have all these platforms that allow you to get marketing for free. Basically, you just need to know how to double down on it and manage the pieces that come along with it. So last time, freedom is belief. Whatever whatever you think is true, it's gonna factor in to what it is you say and turn into what you do, and you'd be surprised how far it pushes you along. So you could either go to bit.ly/Steak and Drake, which is going to be my affiliate link. Full transparency, I don't even know if the affiliate link works, but I figured I might as well mention it. Let's see what happens. I will keep you posted on what the results. I haven't seen anything yet. Or you can just go to stake.us if you don't believe that that's the case. But either way, I'm going to say this again. If you would be so kind as to drop a comment, let me know if you've actually had some results. Reach out to me at bit.ly/Music Tech Discord to let me hear what your results have been. Are you collecting the money? Have you been able to cash out? Do you need any help? Post your questions in there, because in the community, the Q&A is probably the best thing, because that's going to be where you get to just ask your questions. And because I am so interested and focused in making sure other people get this opportunity to actually do this, I think it's a great way to have a conversation. I think there's no better way to get someone's attention, or have them consider having a conversation with you, than to show them a genuine way where they can put some money in their pocket where you're not trying to take anything from them. So your questions are probably not just questions you have, and by me answering it in that forum, it's going to give other people the opportunity to take advantage of those FAQs, and everyone can benefit. And if you have other things that you have found that work in a similar fashion where people could take advantage and see a win, I encourage you to share those as well, because everybody can benefit. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel, and everybody can eat. So freedom is belief, stake.us, and I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with. So what do we have next? So the next thing is relationship relationship management, right? So nothing waste ever. I genuinely believe this philosophy. Absolutely uh, nothing waste, or at least that's what I focus on. I really don't like doing rework. It's a pet peeve, if you would, of mine. Excuse me. So I found that one of the ways that I cope with this, and this might be a convenient narrative, is that if I have to start something from scratch, I typically make sure it was better than what I was working on before, so I don't feel, I guess, so bad about having to redo it. But my point about nothing waste is this. Think about it this way, and this is the analogy that I like to use. God forbid something happens and you went to prison, and you're in prison for 10 years. Now, if you just sat around day to day, walking aimlessly, watching TV, doing nothing, that would be, 10 years that nothing happened. But let's say you got a law degree in that time. You studied, you worked hard, you went to school, you learned things, you took books out, you read, you got yourself an education. Would that 10 years in scenario 1 versus scenario 2, one was wasted because nothing was achieved, nothing was worked on, but the other one, certainly not, if you came out with a law degree. So again, nothing waste unless you waste it. The question that this always arouses in me, and what I've been thinking about so much lately, and what I really want to share with this particular segment, is a question that I feel like we always should be asking, especially when it's subject matter where we're trying to make progress. And that question is, Is this the best use of our time? Is this the best use of our time? Say it again. Is this the best use of our time? Is it? Could you be doing things that are much better now? And I'm sure this opens, I'm opening myself up to all sorts of comments based on that. And I would be interested in it just for the comedy value, but genuinely, I want to hear what you think. Is this the best use of your time? Are you going to get enough out of this video for it to have been worth what's there? I'd like to say just the first, 30 seconds and certainly 10 minutes of it where, I talk about how to, earn $1 a day. That is enough to say you got something out of it, that can, keep on giving as long as the opportunity is still there. But I don't know. I would love to hear from you and see what your thoughts are on that particular thing. But either way, the hours are indifferent to the outcome. It doesn't matter, what if you don't do anything with the time. Time's not going to care. It's just going to keep moving. So you've got to decide what it is you want to do and how you want to be able to do it, and whether or not you're going to invest time and what you're going to invest time is in, I should say, because for the most part, you when you answer that question, is this the best use of our time, and you don't or limit the amount of time you spend doing things that are value or that you limit the amount of time you're doing things that are not providing specific value, you're just going to get better at everything. You're going to get better at relationships, certainly. You're going to get better at time management. You're going to get better at being efficient, because when viewed that way, it starts to become, sure, I can just hang out and, just involve myself in some escapism, and there's nothing wrong with that if that's, something that's valuable to you at the time. But if something it just has no value, or it's very clear that you could be doing something more productive with that time, then you have to move. Even if you like what you're doing, from a practical perspective, you can see that moving that out of the way to make way for something that's more valuable is just a better option. So, and it's not to, and like I said, it's not to say one is bad, it's just not as good. So, if for instance, I said, oh, I provided this, okay, you can make $1 a day. Now, if someone has a video and they can legitimately say, I can show you how to make $10 a day with no investment, similar amount of work, then that would be a better use of your time, because it's 10x what it is I'm talking about. Now, that's not to say you couldn't do both, but if it was either or, 10, it would be better than 1. So you start to make that assessment. So is this the best use of our time? And when you think about it in terms of relationship management, and there's no right or wrong answer, there's no one size fits all. It might be a matter of circumstance. I remember, like I work a lot um, with artists, and you hear in the industry people mention, oh, this is a bad deal, or you got, like, a deal is relative. Bad or good, it's relative. If I need $100,000 to get a kidney transplant, let's say, but I'm giving up all my royalties or publishing or, signing a 360 deal or whatever the case may be, but I'm getting $100,000 to save my life with this kidney transplant, then that's a good deal. It's not a bad deal for me. Is it the best deal finance wise? Maybe not. Maybe I could have made more. But it's not a bad deal because it's good for the situation I'm in. And when you look at relationships, I found that you think about it in terms of time or money, because it's going to be one or the other. Now, a lot of gurus will talk about I'm going to be the shortcut to your time. You could go learn this on your own. You can go find the information on the internet, but I'm going to help get you there faster. Well, I think that in those situations, is this the best use of our time? You got to ask yourself, or at least I find myself asking this question. Did you just spend 90 minutes telling me something that you could have told me in 5 minutes? So is that the best use of our time? Especially when you're selling the shortcut. If you're giving away, if you're giving away free information, for whatever the reason, to get engagement, um, a lead man, however you want to put it, if you're giving away free information, the amount of time though doesn't is a factor because no one wants to waste their time, but it is not as much of a factor as when you're selling expertise and you're selling time in terms of you work with me, I'm going to give you the shortcut. I've been to a ton of these courses, and one of the things they talk about is make the course long. It's kind of like I remember a roofer that I worked with. He said, I don't use a nail gun because the homeowners feel like it doesn't take long enough. They don't feel like they're getting value. So it's like a tactic. I personally feel like if there's value being achieved, no matter how long it takes as long as it takes. It doesn't lessen the cost. Now, you could try to play into all those psychological effects, and that's fine. And I'm not saying that doesn't work. I'm just saying, for me personally, I'd rather, if you can show me how to make $10,000 in 5 minutes, I don't need you taking up 90 minutes of my time, because that just for me feels disrespectful to my time. And so you have time and you have money, right? So you have to, you end up making that decision. Do you want to spend extra time doing something, or do you want to pay the money to shortcut the time? Do you want to build a relationship with somebody, or is it, the F you pay me transaction? All of it works. There's no wrong answer. If that's how you want to, if that's how you want to operate, that's how you roll. Cool, do that. The energy only wastes if you waste it. You get in there and you make a decision as to what is the best use of your time and how you want to approach the relationship you have with anybody for the best possible outcome. The more transparent you are, the more direct you are, the more truthful you are about what your objectives are, I feel like the better the outcome. Now, is that a one size fits all? No. Will it work? I don't know. I know that's the way I approach it. Some people like it, some people don't. And I'm comfortable with either. I don't expect it to work all the time, but for the most part, it works for me. So the moment that determination is made is what's the best use of your time, whether or not you're looking at it in terms of, time and money. Are you willing to invest the time, or you would rather pay the money? Are you looking to build a relationship, or are you looking for something that's more transactional? The decision, you have to make that decision and see what's right for you. And I hope that lands with you, and it's helped to kind of cement that concept. So let's see what else we got. Moving right along, let's talk about setting boundaries, right? Setting boundaries and what you can live with. That's all it comes down to, what you can live with. Right and wrong is within. Good and bad, it's relative. It's what you can live with. That to me is what it really comes down to. Think about this. If you don't like someone doing a particular thing, you just despise it, you don't like it. and they do this thing and they know it, and you just spaz out on them completely. Who's to say that that's really a wrong reaction to something that someone did, um, just because that's not what most people would do, or not what some people would do, or what some people prefer to have happen? I've just found over time that, one, people don't really acknowledge the fact that things can happen, and they expect bad behavior to be met with some kind of rules. And I don't think there's any inappropriate response for bad behavior. There's just a response. And at the end of the day, whatever you can live with is the right decision for you. If you could live with someone punching you in the face and you turning the other cheek, then that's the right decision for you. Back to the money. If you needed the money for a particular thing, it may not be the best deal, but it's worth it for you. If you're moving out of your house and you have a bunch of stuff that you know you need to sell, and you need it to be a quick sale, so you sell a $600 blender for $200. Is that the most you could get? No. Is that the best deal you could get? No. But it gives you a quick sale. It's good for you now. Would you like more? Sure. But that's not that is not indicative of it being bad. And bad for who? It's like, even when people talk about ethics, people say ethics is if it's this universal thing. Universal based on who? Like, sometimes you find people who are always the ones who want to be the moral compass. They're not playing by any of those rules. And if they are, it's only when it's convenient to them. Not that I'm saying there's not a situation, there's not societal norms for the most part. I'm just pointing out that it's not as cut and dry as people may think. Someone says ethics, the question is, whose ethics? Right and wrong. Okay, well, define right and wrong. Because punching someone in the face could be wrong if it's unprovoked for no good reason at all. But punching someone in the face that kicked you in the teeth, not so much. So the context always matters. And our happiness is a choice. You could choose to be mad, or you could choose. We have choices. We may think we don't, but for the most part, we do. For the most part, we have those choices, and we have to decide that's what you can live with. The problem is, a lot of times we want things to be a particular way, but they're not. Like, people have a hard time engaging in respectful, spirited debate, recognizing that people have free will, and recognizing that um, it's okay to disagree. It's quite okay. We're not the same. If everybody's saying the same thing and everybody's agreeing, then we're just in an echo chamber. Not necessarily the best place to be if you're trying to make progress. Because when someone engages in spirited debate, and they don't agree with what it is you're saying, it does a couple of things. It may be annoying to you. It may not be something that you particularly like, but it also cements whether your beliefs are as strong as you believe they are. It's like, when someone challenges your beliefs, you truly understand what it is you believe. Because if I'm able to say something that makes you question why you feel a particular way about something, and gives you second thoughts, then maybe your beliefs aren't as strong as you think they are. And that may or may not deserve further consideration, further exploration, further investigation, to see if that actually is going to produce a different result, or if you're going to stay or remain staunch in what it is you believe. The the issue we encounter in relationship is when, there's this willfully ignorant argument, which I think, sets people at odds and makes things even more uncomfortable. We don't have to agree, um, and many times people don't, and that's okay. But I find that when rational arguments are made that you may or may not agree with, positioning those arguments is just crazy and ludicrous, as making no sense, is kind of what sets things off. And then if hypocrisy feeds into the equation and some kind of misguided delusional rationalization of why one person gets to do it and another person doesn't, and it's the exact same thing on its face, I think that's where it becomes difficult. uh, I just find that, for me, it's always proven to be much easier. If you like it, I love it. You don't have you don't have to agree. Um, and I think that's what makes the world go round. As cliche as this may sound, is I feel like our diversity is our strength. And in relationship, be it online, offline, any place else, I think that the moment we start pulling away from the fact that free will exists for a reason, it's always stunning to me that as much as we talk about freedom, particularly in America, and in terms of, understanding that in the Bible for all the folks who believe, that we always seem to be focused or targeted on controlling other humans, which I think is misguided. That's my personal feeling. I don't think you're going to get along with everybody. I don't think everybody's going to like you, but I think there's certainly a way to be respectful of other people's opinions. And sometimes, for me, what I've found is you just love from a distance. But either way, what it comes down to is what you can live with. Because if you can live with it and you can sleep good at night, and then that's what it is for you. There's no one right way. There's only right for you. And I hope that this adds some sort of value to you. But either way, um, please let me know. And I'm going to move on to our very next topic, because I think I beat that one to death. Um, let's talk about setting boundaries and defending your borders, so to speak. Um, I think that, when you have you create a moat, if you will, around yourself in some way, when you insulate yourself from people overstepping, it prevents things from getting to be too overwhelming, and or for them to just, the pressure to build and then just explode. I think that it's a good thing to set up boundaries and enforce them, and quite frankly, do it out loud and unapologetically. uh, the more you're comfortable with that, I think the better the outcome is. You ever see how You ever notice how some people could do the same thing as somebody else, but one person doing it doesn't get the same reaction as somebody else? I've always found this fascinating, because with the person who's doing it and, for lack of a better term, getting away with it without any of the consequences, it's usually a byproduct of them just being comfortable with it. They themselves just saying, "Well, this is me. Take it or leave it," and them just being more comfortable in themselves. Whereas if somebody else does it and it seems out of character for them, they get, the evil eye, so to speak, and that doesn't serve them necessarily well. So let me know what you think about that. I mean, I just think that when you establish how it is you feel out loud, unapologetically, and staying away from absolutes and extremes, because I think this is what um, gets us into trouble. Because when in the absence of reason, I think there comes absolutes and extremes. Um, it's I think about this a lot in law, and you have what people may term, draconian laws, or however it is, or people want to enforce laws in a particular way. And I think that while there may be some good intent behind it, I don't necessarily always see it, but let's just, for argument's sake, say there's some good intent behind it. I just think that when we take a rigid position on the manner in which we conduct ourselves, that being absolutes and extremes, we tend to bring out that same behavior in others. So if you think about it in terms of the law, if you, well, I'll give you a very real example. I remember reading about this case one time, and this is something you could look up. Someone sued a dry cleaner for $3 million for a pair of pants, and basically ran the dry cleaner out of business. Now, I don't know what the full backstory is, but I'm betting dollars to donuts that whatever this dry cleaner owner did to this person with the pants, it pissed them off something horrible, um, and they went to exact their revenge, and they used the law to do it. Now, granted, this was an attorney that did this, and at one point, as I understand it, they were offered $100,000 to settle for a pair of pants, and they said no. They wanted $3 million because somewhere in the law there was something that said that's the case. And I see these situations play out, and it almost feels like it's more and more. I don't know that to be a fact, but it feels like it. And I just think that the being reasonable, and I think it goes a long way, because when we get into those extremes and we get into very rigid, um, entrenched positions that try to that seek to control, that seek to manipulate, that seek to coerce, that seek to put leverage on people, it just brings out the more of the same. It's a lot of that I'm gonna get you back type of behavior, and I feel like I don't see positive coming out of that. Not that every um, instance is gonna have a positive result, but I just think it goes. It's a lot better where you set some boundaries, and not necessarily be rigid, but be what's the word I'm looking for? Be specific and intentional about what you will and you will not tolerate. And call it a polite declaration of what's about to happen, but I think that just sets the tone and keeps things at a place that avoids the outer extremes and the absolute behavior where there's no coming back from, a la, the $3 million for a pair of pants, which, for some would say, oh, that seems ridiculous. Well, it may, but nonetheless, things can happen. Uh, the other thing, in setting boundaries is, you know, we all, particularly in business, you have relationships for all sorts of reasons. And the quickest way to get to this part of the conversation is the statement, enemies are my enemy. And people, looking at that. Acknowledging unholy alliances is a thing. I think that when you set boundaries, and you have boundary enforcement and you have maintenance, you also, like, it's knowing what you're dealing with and not being, falling into delusion as to thinking that something is something that it is not, that it's providing something that it's not, the whole pretending. I find that when things are laid out and you know, okay, well, this I'm okay with, that I'm not okay with, and making it clear as many times as it takes, because ambiguity, I feel, causes more issues. Uh, it just causes a lot of issues. Whereas when you're very specific, this is something I don't want to happen, and say it as many times as it needs to be said. And sure, you're going to get some people who are going to be like, all right, I heard you. And they'll brush it off. But if you don't feel confident that the person on the receiving end of the conversation or the message that you're providing genuinely understands or genuinely is going to, um, will give it the best chance for them to respect what it is you're proposing in terms of what your boundaries are, then you need to say it again. You need to make sure that message is clear, have them read it back to you, however you want to do it, because it just will save you a lot of time and issue going forward. And for all the stuff you find online, I think this is one of the things that is going to serve you well. Either you're planning to do business with somebody, be specific. You know, if one thing that products like ChatGPT has taught us with prompt engineering and other things is, you know, it's garbage in, garbage out. If you write a bad prompt, it's not specific, it's very sporadic, it doesn't really detail what it is you're trying to get as output, then the output is going to be crap. And it's the same thing in real life. Same thing with setting boundaries. If your boundaries are weak or poor, or don't specifically address the areas where you have concerns, the outcome is not going to be too pleasant or favorable. It's not going to be something that's going to um, serve you. It's not going to be something that's going to um, have the intended effect. So just keep those things in mind when you're setting boundaries and defending your borders, out loud, unapologetically. Acknowledge when there's unholy alliances, and for the most part, stay away from absolutes and extremes. And I hope that was helpful as we move in to the next phase, which is your right to remain silent. Now, granted, I took a license, and uh, with the play on words and the right to remain silent, as if, you know, you're getting Mirandized or whatever the case may be. But I started saying this thing, the infinite ROI of shut the fuck up. You know, like, that's a real thing. STFU. And that, to me, sums it up, because as a nice segue from what I was mentioning before with, you know, with the prompt engineering and chat GPT, and working with these AIs and asking for the information that you want, I find that a lot of times the miscommunication comes as a result of us talking when we should be listening. And it happens so often, and you find that when conversations happen, it's just a lot more valuable. Like, even for instance, right now, this video is one way. It's me talking at you. There's really no conversation. So like, honestly, I think it's only going to be so valuable. Whereas if you jump in the community, bit.ly/music tech Discord, shameless plug, in the Q&A, there can be a back and forth. Right now, I am talking about things that I found to be helpful, things that I've found to be good guiding principles, but I don't know how everybody else feels about that. And hopefully this finds those of you who this will be valuable for, and you take the pieces that are good and you skip past the ones that are not, and you take advantage of the bit.ly/music tech Discord and ask the questions that are more specific to you and have more of the dialogue. But my point is, when there's a conversation, sometimes just being quiet and listening serves us so well. Like, the value truly is infinite, and it doesn't matter what type of conversation it is, whether it's an adversarial one, a confrontational one. Um, while I can appreciate closed mouths don't get fed and those sorts of sentiments, the fact is it's very hard to listen when you're talking. It's very hard to gain new information when you're talking. And without new information, the more information you have, the better decision making opportunity there is. Now, sometimes there's, you know, you just get into analysis paralysis. But for the most part, more information equals better decision making. It gives you just more data for you to work through. And, like, unfortunately, a lot of times now we're flooded with data. But in the dawn of AI and assorted other things, I think we're going to be challenged as humans. Not that I think we could ever ultimately keep up, but we're going to be challenged as humans to do a better job of assessing what's going on. And staying quiet and listening is one of those key components. My uncle used to say, "You have two ears and one mouth for a reason. Listen twice as much as you speak." But with that same token, you got to know and ask for what you want. Any conversation is knowing and asking for what you want, and then zip it and listen to what comes back. So much value comes from asking questions, yet we tend to shoot ourselves in the foot by either trying to embarrass people for not knowing even things that we may not even be experts in, and make it shameful to ask questions because nobody wants to feel a particular way. Whereas I feel like it's just the opposite. You know nothing unless you ask. And I don't know if this resonates with many people, but the value to me of always asking questions like I'm asking now, and the reason I'm suggesting that log on to bit.ly/music tech discord, join the Q&A and ask questions, is because once the question is asked and people start to engage, the recipient of those answers, those questions, that dialogue becomes the expert. Because what happens when you ask 100 people, or you ask a question and 100 people respond? Those are 100 responses that the rest of the world doesn't have. You're the expert. Who's going to tell you? You've asked as many people, they've responded to you. So it has a very clear value. And the way you take the feedback in, again, is the zip. So the infinite ROI of STFU. And when you're asking questions, be uncomfortably clear. And what I mean by that is, there are times where you're having conversation to get information that people may be evasive, whether it's in business or relationship, however it is, they may be evasive. A yeah sort of answer. And they don't want more probing, but the probing may be necessary. So when you're uncomfortably clear, it gives you less opportunity for there to be stuff that people will be untruthful about. They could dismiss it and they could just basically be like, "I don't want to talk about this anymore." But then that gives you an answer as well. It may not be that specific answer, but that may be enough. Because if I genuinely want to do business with you, I genuinely want to, be open, honest, transparent, whatever the case may be. When you ask me a question, I'm happy to engage in that dialogue. I'm happy to provide it. Now, I know perhaps some folks would be like, "Oh," people would be like, "Oh, what are you hiding?" Well, hiding is one way to look at things. Another way to look at it is it's none of your damn business. Because some people are just nosy. And again, back to the previous topic, setting boundaries. Sometimes you just got to tell people, mind your business. That's that. Again, what you can live with. Not everybody's, built or cut out for doing it that way. I feel it's just a quicker way to avoid, the same issues from coming up again. Just it's learning to be specific, be uncomfortably clear, listen without talking. When you ask a question and someone begins to answer, you just have to sit back and listen. You can probe further to get clarification on the answer, but it's better to just sit back and listen and see where it is the conversation is going. So you take the ambiguity out of some of the what is coming back. Understand the full context and don't be necessarily quick to judge. And that takes time and it takes listening. That active listening to be part of that conversation and doing it. And then finally, as you're getting this feedback, sometimes you're going to have enough to make a very clear decision, very clear, super informed decision that's going to be particularly helpful. And sometimes you don't, But ultimately, whatever happens in life, you are the one that's going to have to live with the decision. Sometimes you have more time, sometimes you have less. And if it's one of those times that you have less, it's to assess, choose what you're going to do, and live with that decision. Be prepared to live with the decision you made. But know that the decision you made is the best one you made based on the information that you had readily available. And you got that because you understood that you have the right to remain silent, and you took advantage of asking, staying quiet, and listening to what the information is, assessing that particular feedback, making a choice, and then living with that decision. Your right to remain silent, the infinite ROI of STFU. Take advantage. It's your right. And with that, we're going to move on to our next one. Obstacles and roadblocks. Now, this is one that I'm super passionate about because I feel like there's a real detriment here to what's going on. And apologies to anyone who was offended by me eating. I'm having a cookie. Obstacles and roadblocks are going to happen. They're in the system by design. As I alluded to earlier, I feel like fraternity hazing is a real thing. Gatekeeping is a real thing. People feel like they had a tough time. They feel like you should have a tough time. You should earn, a certain thing. And that's their prerogative. I'm for one, don't believe that. But I think that ignorance serves no one. Knowledge is free. And conclusion engineering is a thing. And that's not mine. I heard this from someone I followed, Jason Capital, that I heard him say it in one of these courses that I took. And he talked about using your best testimonial, which is something many have come to feel skeptical about, and they should, because there's been a number of cases where people just bootleg testimonials and not necessarily in enhance, embellish, or lie. I think they just drop context. Uh, even when you hear things that sound outlandish, and to be fair, may be true. This person's making $100,000 a month. That may be true. But the piece that's left out is how much are they spending? And sure, you can go, you got to spend money to make money, but yes. But if you're spending $50,000 a month to make $100,000 a month, that's still $50,000 a month you're netting profit, and that's great. But if you're selling a course for $997 or $1997, touting this $100,000 a month, knowing that $50,000 is needed to generate that, but you're not really sharing that component of it, that's a major significance. So that's not the transparency is not there. There's a convenient truth and there's a transparent reality. Now, when I say these things, or when the person says these things, is marketing this particular project, product. The conclusion engineering is you believing that by buying this product, you'll be able to generate this 100,000 with just what you spent, and that is where it gets hard. So these will be obstacles and roadblocks. It's like what I like to say is like, my mom has told me from years, saying we have in Trinidad, you gave me a 6 for a 9. I thought it was a 9, but it's a 6. You gave me a 6, and you said it was a 9. But the conclusion engineering piece is, well, I didn't say that it was exactly this way. You concluded. The logic is, people will always question what you tell them, but they'll never doubt what they conclude. Whatever it is, whatever conclusion they come to, they won't doubt that. But if you tell them something, they're going to doubt it. Now, when you have, on the same vein with the conclusion engineering, if you don't give your best testimonial, even though it might be an anomaly in the whole thing, somebody made $1 million. The message was, you should say the person made $1 million. You didn't make it up. Not everybody's going to make $1 million, and you put your disclaimers in, you put your footnote at the bottom of your email to let people know results may vary. So it's up to you to do your due diligence. And I know that is not even a statement that I like saying, but that ultimately is what it is, and goes back to what we talked about previously: asking for what you want, asking for the specific information you need, asking as if this is the best use of our time. Now, while a lot of this conversation we've been having is really not around super specifics of do this, do that, and that's on purpose, because it's these concepts or these guiding principles is what makes everything else make a lot more sense to me anyway, a lot faster. Keeps you out of the shiny object syndrome and going down paths that may not be as lucrative or as helpful or practical, or lack the practical value that's going to get you the furthest, fastest, if that makes sense. Because in this online world that we're in, this digital world that we're rocketing into, there is no risk if there's no reward if there's no risk. More than likely you're going to have to kiss some frogs. Hopefully you don't, or hopefully it's not too many, but more than likely you're going to have to kiss some frogs. This whole thing serves as a way for you to kiss fewer frogs and get to the princesses or princes, if you would, to get you to your goals. Not everybody's a charlatan. but not everybody's a stand-up person either. And it's up to you to acknowledge the unholy alliance of this gatekeeping that goes on, and the proverbial upsell that happens where you get one product and then it's like, oh, I'm going to upsell you to the next one, and you call that value where or you're spending 90 minutes um, uh, on something that could have took 5 minutes. All these things factor in, and that may just be part of the journey. Some of it may go faster, some of it may go slower, some of it may work out perfectly. Some people may be more efficient, some people may be less. There's no one size fits all. There's only what's right for you. But you're going to end up being in a position where you're going to have to put something on the line if you want to participate in this effort. And hopefully you can get a lot farther, faster than I did with what it is I'm providing here. But know that the gatekeeping is real. It's literally by design. Everybody has the answer. Everything, is a guru. Everyone seems to be a guru. You have all these programs. Do this, do that. Part of the, it's like anything else. You think about this. When I think about testimonials, when I think about reviews, this is what I think about. When someone goes for an apartment or a job, and the final stage of that whole process is a reference. And it's not someone send me a letter or just some random video online. It's usually a phone call. Pick up a phone call, someone actually telling you, this is what I experienced, this was good, that, or whatever the case may be. A lot of times you can weed through a lot of the skepticism by getting a contact for someone who's had a good experience and then asking them specific questions. Because if it's one of those situations where everything's on the up and up, the reviews are going to be stellar. They're going to be something that you can relate to. It's going to be something that's going to be valuable. It's going to be something the person is passionate about, talking about the great experience they have. It's not going to be, I want to talk about it because it's going to put me in the good graces of the person who made the product, or it's going to give me some affiliate link. It's just going to be something that they know is going to ultimately provide value, and they're staking their reputation on it. At least that's how I see it, and that's how things play out, in a more brick and mortar sense. So the gatekeeping is real. Know that there will be obstacles and roadblocks, but the bottom line is no risk, no reward. Beware of the 6 for a 9. And for the conclusion engineering, ask the questions and let the facts provide you with the information to make an informed decision. And moving on to the next one, you get to decide. You are the deciding factor. And you're right. Whatever it is you think you need to be doing, you're right. Whatever it is you believe, you're right. It's true. There is no one size fits all. That's a myth. For everybody that's telling you this is the only way, you must do it that way. You could go ahead and knock your head against the wall if you want, but I know, yes, anybody, including myself, that's telling you that this is the way, they're talking about themselves at best. It might apply to other people, but it may not necessarily apply to you. All I can provide, and this is why I've focused very specifically on this overall presentation in terms of themes and guiding principles and items that people can pick from and apply where applicable to their own situations versus giving very specific things, unless those specific things I've seen to produce a very, very specific result. And by very specific, I mean like going to stake.us and claiming your daily bonus stake cash to get $1 a day and then cashing it out. That is super, super specific. And as long as it lasts, there should be no issue with going through and getting it in the US and transfer it to Coinbase and then using the Coinbase rewards, as long as those programs, still exist. It's very, very specific. It's not growth. It's not make this amount that may or may not be, a continuous number. There's nothing vague about it. But outside of that, there's no one size fits all. Not for TikTok, not for Instagram, not for YouTube, not for LinkedIn. There's no one size fits all. There are things that people have seen to work that may work for them, but there's no guarantee it's going to work for you. And if you look far enough in the disclaimers, it'll tell you that. Results aren't guaranteed, or better still, results not typical. So knowing that just puts you in a better, in my view, a much, much better position to do the things you need to do and to really double down and have a great entrance or continuation on your online journey. Because once you recognize that, I think it just opens you up to more possibilities, more opportunities. Because people will tell you, oh, you have to show your face, you have to do it this way. And for all those things, every time somebody says that, there's somebody who's not doing it that way and still winning. And it's quick for people to dismiss that and say, oh, it's just an anomaly. Well, you could be that anomaly too. But clearly, if anyone has made it work, no one could say it has to be that way. Now, is it more likely to work that way? Perhaps. But it's what you believe and what you think is important, because whatever you believe is right. What works for you? What makes sense for you? It's just something to think about. Know what's right for you, and only you know what's right for you. I can't tell you what's right for you. I can tell you that a certain thing, has been working or is presently working, and give you some guidance and answer some questions, but it's up to you to see if you're going to actually do the work, commit to the objective, commit to the work, and filter the noise that is going to be a distraction or an obstacle for you to get to the target that you're looking to engage in. So just something to kind of have you sit with, but ultimately you decide. It's your decision. There truly is no one size fits all. Do you find something you love enough to make it work and just keep doing it until it does? That's what I found to be helpful as we move on to the next one. Now, rite of passage. This delusion of paying dues, as I like to say. So the rite of passage going wrong. And I touched on this a little bit earlier. If one of the things my dad told me very early on is you need to be better than I am. You need to do better. That was his goal. I wish I could teach you everything that I know right now. And that made so much sense. And it was so counter to like when you read a book like the 48 Laws of Power and don't outshine the master type of, mentality. And not everybody agrees with me on this. Some people, have very strong opinions to the contrary of this. And I just, for one, feel like if we're not building, we're dying. If the goal is not building, then maybe it's not the best fit, at least not for me. I feel like we need to be progressing. We need to be progressing as a species, as just humans in terms of just what we're leaving for future generations. So I don't personally see the value in holding people back and making ourselves the bottleneck in terms of how far and how fast people go, because we believe that they're not ready. Just because it took me 90 days to do something doesn't mean that it needs to take somebody else 90 days. And I'm not talking about just giving people the answers and just letting them through. I'm saying let it play out. Because too many times, that experience, what we may think is fair is not practical. It's not even helpful. Because while you want people to get the experience of going through something, the experience doesn't have to be your same experience. It could be an experience that they advance down the line. And like everybody else, like when you see someone who's exceptional, who's advanced past all the previous records, the previous, milestones that were set before, they have more experience. They've seen different things. They get to the where they're going faster. And I think that's something that should be available for everybody who goes through and has a mentor and has help and has, guidance and tutoring and mentoring and support. Like I think about the expectation. So you take like George W. Bush Jr. or however it is. His father was president. I think he should have been a better president because he had the leg up. Now, whether or not that has happened and people agree or disagree, I think he should have been a better president because he had the leg up. He should have been. That's how I think. That's progression. That's progress. That's benefit. That's us doing our job. That's us paying it forward into the next generation. It's not keeping people back and saying, "Oh, I don't think you're ready." Then make me ready. If you have the support of somebody who is ready, and you made it this far, why shouldn't you be better? Now that's not always possible, but from a practical standpoint, it's certainly reasonable. So just something to think about, because I think that fraternity hazing mentality is more of an ego thing. The guy before me beat my ass, so for me to not feel bad about that, I'm gonna beat your ass, and that's how that works. And that somehow makes sense. It doesn't to me. Um, but like anything else, there's enough. Life's hard enough. I don't think us making it more difficult has any benefit. We're gonna likely have to kiss enough frogs, to get to the good stuff as things may, you know, come along. But I also think there's a reality in what it is we have to go through, and it takes as long as it takes. But not all of us are willing to commit to that. So let me know what you think about this one in particular. Some people feel like, oh, this is a matter of fairness. If I took this long or I had to go through this, you should go through it too. I, for one, am not, unless it's going to very specifically, and there's empirical evidence to show that by letting someone pass through or giving them the advantage so that they can truly advance and move the culture or whatever it is you're doing forward, then it is to provide them every level of support, every opportunity to succeed and succeed brilliantly as possible. But I'm curious to hear what everybody thinks about that, and I would be thrilled if you would share, good, bad, or indifferent. I think it all helps. It all helps to have the conversation and to net a good result and give people some additional information they may not have had before. Moving right along. Let's see where we're at now. This might end up being two parts. All right. Weeding and fertilizing. This is probably one of the greatest lessons I had and one of my mentors teach me when I worked in the bank. This managing director, he was telling me about his first venture into um, being put up for a managing director and then not getting the nod to go forward, and what it took, and the politics and things like that were present at the time. And he said very specifically to me, you need to know when to weed and when to fertilize. And true to the point I made before, what is the best use? Is this the best use of our time? You have to weed because you need to make room for stuff that's going to bear fruit, that's going to grow. That's really what it comes down to. It's not that I don't like you. It's not that I'm not, like I'm just totally indifferent to you. I need that space for something that's going to be productive or valuable for me in every particular way. And it could be friendship, it could be business, it could be romantic relationship. I need that space to build. Thorough, and this needs to be a thorough investigation. Really think about what is going to give you the best benefit. And it can't, to each his own, but ultimately you want to invest wisely. You don't want to be penny wise and pound foolish. For me, the goal has always been, and again, this might not be for everybody, but for me, the goal has always been to be able to build something bigger, better, faster, stronger than I can do alone. Because I think that the individual win needs to be present before they can be a collaborative win. There's no collaboration without cooperation. And no one of us is smarter than all of us. I believe that is something that is going to be universal. And understanding when something has value and when something is just sucking the life out of the stuff that's around, and knowing when to, again, weed and when to fertilize, and how that's going to play out in everything that you need to do. So let me know what you think about that. How do you weed and fertilize? How do you decide who you're going to allow to take up space? And are you eliminating things that don't have value, even if you have room for everything? Is that a priority for you? Certainly something that I think is, can be helpful. So I'm thinking I'm going to cut this and make this a second part. Let me just see. I'm just going to finish up with this next slide, and then continue the engagement, the TikTok unlock, and the YouTube monetization in a part 2, which I'll release afterwards. But where to start? So for all the stuff that I said before, it really is, it comes to, one, go make your first money. And I gave you a method to do that. Stake.us or bit.ly/stake and trade. Go claim your dollar. Do the Q&As if you need to on bit.ly/music tech discord. Get that under your belt. And then we can talk about possibly using that for marketing if that's something you need, or just what your results were about getting that. And then it's just these principles to help you as you decide how are you going to proceed with this online journey. How are you going to create something for yourself that's sustainable and that is that can give you another source of information or source of value, source of income as we move forward. Everybody can use a bit more income. Well, some of us don't need it, but it doesn't hurt for whatever it is. So whether it's $30 or 300 or 3,000, 300,000, it helps. Especially at a time we're living where we have inflation and housing costs and all these other things. So where to start? One is understanding that it's here and now. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. And it's never too late. There's always an inroad in because there's always new technology coming. And right now it's coming faster and hotter and heavier than other. And I think they're going to heavier than other. And I think there's going to be so much opportunity. um, as we move forward. So it's never too late. Understanding it going in, it won't always be fun. It's not going to always be a bed of roses. Sometimes it's going to be very frustrating. But ultimately, if it's something that you believe in, again, whatever you believe is true, and you're doing something that you're passionate about, it'll work out as long as you commit to doing the work. As long as you understand it takes as long as it takes. As long as you understand that there will be potholes, there will be obstacles, there will be gatekeeping by design. But one of the things that ultimately I'm trying to provide, and again, bit.ly/Music Tech Discord, is helping you to avoid the potholes, helping to have the conversations that'll open up ideas and avenues and just constructs that might help you think through a particular problem as it suits you, not necessarily my way or maybe the way of the individuals that I may have suggested that you follow, um, but your own, no one size fits all, just perfect for you way of doing whatever it is you need to do to get where you're trying to go. Just avoiding as many potholes as possible, kissing fewer frogs, and really getting to the information that's going to provide you some real practical value. But in the end, past all of this, the one thing that I find myself saying to more and more of my family, my friends, my customers, businesses I consult for is trust your gut. It's what you can live with. Whatever you believe is true, freedom is belief, happiness is a choice. You trust your gut. Stay away from the delusion. Understand that it's not going to always be fun. Know that it's not too late. Avoid the potholes where possible. Not everybody is disagreeable. Not everybody's out to get you. Set your boundaries. Know when to weed and fertilize. Focus on your objective. Clear out the noise. Filter the stuff that's not serving you. And trust the process. That's where you start, here and now. Stake.us, get your dollar a day, bit.ly/Stake and Drake, bit.ly/Music Tech Discord for your Q&A. And please, if you care to, drop me a line, leave me a comment, let me know what you thought about all this, what your opinions are on the particular segments, and what your experience has been. And I look forward to talking to you at that time and hopefully seeing you in the community. Stay tuned for part 2, where I'm going to talk about the proper ways to engage that I've found that have been helpful, the TikTok unlock, and the YouTube monetization, which many people have asked about. I hope this was helpful, and I hope this finds you well, and I wish you the best of success in whatever it is you do. Look forward to hearing from you, seeing you on the other side. Peace.